I want to bring in now a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, Aaron David Miller. This was a targeted strike, Aaron, and we don't have confirmation that the initial target in this strike has in fact been killed. This commander, the second in command to Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, an Iranian proxy. What do you make of it?
Look, the Israelis, and thanks for having me, Yasmin. The Israelis were looking for, I'm not sure it was the Goldilocks solution, not too hot, not too cold, an effort to send a very strong signal, qualitatively different than anything that they've done, that Hezbollah's strike, whether it was an errant missile designed for Israeli military positions on Mount Dov, Mount Hermon, or not, the fact is 12 children, permanent residents, Druze, were killed. The Israelis had to find a way to send a signal. So they launched an operation designed to strike at Fuad Shakar, who is the second, perhaps most important advisor to Hassan Nasrallah. They didn't really pay attention to the administration's view that they should not strike in Beirut. So this strike separates most of their operations. And the real question now, I think, is, and everyone's been saying it, but it's absolutely true, whether or not Fuad Shakar was killed, the question is, how is Hezbollah going to respond to this? The Israelis struck Beirut. It was determined that they needed to send this signal. So striking the Lebanese capital, perhaps killing a senior advisor to Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, will force and prompt, I think, Hezbollah response. Just one point in terms of perspective here. Even if we manage to get out of this round without a major escalation, without triggering or tripping into something the Middle East has never seen before, a truly regional war, not just involving Israel and Hezbollah, but perhaps the Iranians in Israel and the U.S., you still won't address the problem. And the Israeli strike against Fuad Shakar won't do that either. Hezbollah possesses 150,000 high-trajectory weapons. Their Radwan forces are still far too close to the border. You've got 60, 70,000 Israelis who have relocated from the Israeli-Lebanese border. This is another round in what I suspect will be an ongoing war of attrition. The only way, I think, now to diffuse this, and I think this round has made the prospects of an Israeli-Hamas ceasefire even more unlikely, is to find a way to get that ceasefire done, even if it's only for 6 weeks.
What would address the problem? You're saying that this doesn't actually address the underlying problem. What would?
It's the same issue with Israel and Hamas, Yasmin. You have two non-state actors, Hamas and Hezbollah, who would manage, even given their weakness in comparison with the Middle East's most preeminent military power, Israel, even if you end up with a ceasefire in Gaza, even if you find a way to get out of this particular round of this crisis, you're still going to be left with an unresolved Israeli-Lebanese border, with Hezbollah's arsenal of 150,000 high-trajectory weapons, and Hamas surviving 10 months of war, probably to emerge as an insurgency with the capacity to effect developments in Gaza. I think we have to get used to the fact that these are two wars of attrition, and there are no neat or tidy endings to them. But for the moment, let's hope that Israeli-Hezbollah calculations can return us to something which is not desirable, but is far better than triggering a regional confrontation. And that is a continuing battle between Israel and Hezbollah along the border. That's not going to stop unless you get an Israeli-Gaza ceasefire. And even that, over time, may not do it.
Well, and you brought up Iran a little bit earlier, and we know there's a new president in Iran, and we know there's limits to the president's power inside Iran. I know a leader in Hamas was just meeting with the president of Iran, Pezeshkian, just a couple of days ago as well. When you think about how he's seen more as a reformist, but really what that means is limited inside Iran, do you believe there are conversations happening between Iran, between Hezbollah and Hamas as to next steps to be taken? And do you have any optimism that you now have this kind of more quote unquote reformist inside Iran that may ask Hezbollah to back off without wanting a direct conflict with Israel?
I think the Iranians are interested in a controlled but continuing escalation.
This benefits
between
them.
Hamas and Israel and Hezbollah and Israel. They don't want to see Hezbollah decimated. After all, Hezbollah is their sort of option in the event that Israel or the U.S. strike Iranian nuclear facilities or Iran proper. They do not want to see Hezbollah decimated, which is why if this trips into a major Israeli-Hezbollah confrontation involving the deaths of hundreds, if not thousands, of Israelis and Lebanese and attacks on national infrastructure,
right.
It's hard to imagine that Iran can stay out. Again, we have to hope that what the Israelis have done sends that message, and even with a response by Hezbollah, that it's controlled and doesn't climb the escalatory ladder.
It's important to take a deep breath amidst all that is happening over there right now. Aaron David Miller for us. As always, we are thankful for you.